Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jim?
Please join in prayer or meditation as I say, bless this food to our use and us to thy service. Amen.
Amen. And I got the Karen, page 17, side by side.
And the one, and the two, and the three.
Make it correct and funny, but we travel alone, speaking of song, side by side.
17.
Maybe scroll and sorrow, but we travel alone, sharing our food, side by side. Through all kinds of weather, where the sky should know, just all that we're here together. It doesn't matter at all. We all have troubles and fire. We'll leave the same as we started. Just travel along, stay along, side by side.
Jeff here today, going like this with Elvis.
Well, it was a valiant effort by everybody. So for those who may be confused, I'm not Betty. If you don't know who I am.
Mike. Right here.
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. If you don't know who I am, I'm Katie Nunez. I used to be a president. I'm just a pain in the ass now.
You've always been that.
Yes, that's been my mainstay all the way through life. Yeah. So as all of you know, Betty is still on the mend. I think we may have an update. So for that, Jim.
No, very few details. She has been released from the hospital to Maimonides Rehab Center in Virginia Beach. I received a text message this morning, very brief, just saying that she continues to do better. She's looking forward to ending rehab and post-op pain management very soon. And I think she's trying to get home by the weekend. So today we have a card, and I hope everyone will sign. The card is going to be attached to some flowers and delivered later in the week.
I think everybody's now signed the card.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, Diane did not, Bill has not.
Okay, very good.
Diane. I appreciate the update. Thank you for that. So let's start with some general announcements first before we move into Happy Dollar.
I've got one. I did receive in the mail from Kristen Dennett up at the Barrier Island Center for what we did for their Arts and Music Festival. So I'm going to read this to everybody. Dear King Charles Rotary members, thank you so much for helping again with parking at the Arts and Music on the farm. This is such an important part of making the event run smoothly. Your help makes a big difference for our guests from the moment they arrive. And we truly appreciate the time, organization, and cheerful support you give to the Barrier Island Centers year after year, time consistent. So thank you all.
So everyone here should have received an email from me about self-test parking. So I have a sign roster with me, I'm gonna pass it around. There's 4 columns, there's 4 volunteer slots per shift, 2-hour shifts. The north entrance and the south entrance. The north entrance will be by the hump. You'll have a Rotary board member or somebody there to take the money. You're there to assist them and put.
Hey, Charles, Main Street board member, not a
Yeah,
Rotary board.
Hey, Charles Main Street board member. Yes, that was said in the email. And the south entrance is down by near the shanty. And then there's 2 people inside to direct traffic. So those are the 4 slides. Thing, as many as we can get. I'm gonna pass it around. I'll be passing it around the next 2 weeks too. All right?
Is there a reporting location? Because I have no idea the north.
Okay, the north entrance is right by the hump. Right by the hump on Mason Avenue. Okay, that's where they enter.
Across from Coastal.
And then the south one, you have to come over, like you're gonna go to the shanty, and you go in there. Even if you're parking inside, you have to go through one of those 2 entrances. Okay? And I would just check in if you're gonna be parking inside and not doing the entrances. Just check in the board, Big Charles Main Street board member will say, just go in there and direct traffic. I mean, yes.
Should we be wearing our Rotary parapet?
Yes. Always wear your Rotary stuff. And the big thing is, it's $10 a car to park. And our club is going to get 10% of the proceeds.
Ooh.
Right? That's a big one. So they need as many volunteers as they can get. And I'm working with Susan Berger on this as well. So when we get some people signed up, then I send her my list and vice versa. Any questions? All right, I'll send this around now. Thank you.
Yeah. Karen?
We're scheduled to clean the Route 184 on June 27th. However, it seems like there's so many volunteer opportunities. It's the day after making the crab cakes. And it's between the Sail Fest and the 4th of July, which I thought would be good because we could be clean by the 4th of July, but we might be burned out. So do we want to do it on the 27th, or do we want me to call the book and have it after?
Later.
Later. See if you can push it, because they should be starting to mow here in the next week or so. Right. It seems if they're mowing, they're cleaning before they mow, so, yeah.
Okay, so that's the consensus, that I should push that. Yeah, okay.
Maybe we should clean right after they clean.
No, I mean, sometimes they just cut the stuff up and blow it all.
Joe, do you want to give an update on the dinner? Sure.
The dinner is the dinner is the 30th of June. Cheryl and Karen just checked out the Chesapeake room at the Coach House, and they brought some Mexican decorations so that there will be some festivities decorated around. And we pretty much identified what the price is going to be, so I will be sending out an email in the next day or 2 with the details, the price, and the RSVP information. I already have 2 people who are coming, and they don't even know the price.
They don't care. Good, thank you.
And just to follow up again, the last announcement we started last week, we are releasing all of you to start selling crab cakes. We're holding at $60 a tray, 6 crab cakes a tray. So we're gonna make just over 2,000. We're gonna buy a little bit extra meat if we can, and hopefully have a little bit of surplus to kind of deal with the overselling that's happening. Thank you, Bill Payne. You're one of our best sellers. So we want you to get you out and doing that. Couple of reminders, Paul went over this at last week's meeting. I'm gonna go over it one more time today, and I will put this in writing to everybody as well. I'll have that email going out when I get back to my house.
Let me get my little notes. Andy, hang on. And one, whoever you sell to, you must make sure you have written your name up in their forehead, so they remember which Rotarian they bought from, because that's really important if they're gonna come and pick up their craft case on the day of. So you have to tell them who you are, make sure they know who they bought from. We occasionally do have some people who buy from 2 or more Rotarians, which can be confusing. But we just need to know to make those, acquisitions out of each person's stash appropriately on that day of. With that said, if you sell fewer than 4 trays yourself, then we're going to expect you to in full payment the day of crab cake making for those 4 trays. Because one of the challenges that we have had as a board, and our treasurer in particular has had challenges, is trying to get the funds in from everybody. I think that was reported to you most recently, we were still collecting November money as of 2 weeks ago. So that's too far for us to be chasing crab cake money from November. And so we don't want to be doing this in September, still trying to get all of the June sales money in our pocket. So if you're selling 4 trays or fewer, we are requesting that you have all of that money turned into us that morning of. So I can have a true accounting, that Paul can have a true accounting, and our new treasurer, Ken, who's going to be inheriting this mess, come July 1 to handle this. And if they do come, we ask them not to show up until 12 o'clock at the Sheridan Fire Station. No earlier, because we did have people come around 11:30. While yes, the bulk of the making was done around 11:30, we were not all finished, and it got very hectic trying to deal with sales while we were still wrapping up the final stations of the breadcrumbing and egg wash, and then the packing of the crab cakes, and then also trying to deal with all the people coming through, just saying, I bought crab cakes, I don't know who from, I'm not sure if they paid, my wife told me to come here. Or in some cases, my husband told me to show up, I don't know what he did. So we need to have no one show up till 12 o'clock at the earliest if they're going to pick up the day of, okay? We will typically stay around for another hour, hour and a half. So again, it's not a rush, we gotta be there at 12 or we're gonna head out of there at 12:15. It takes us some time to one, scarf down our lunch option, which again, I'm not sure what we're gonna do since Froggy's is closed and doesn't do pizzas anymore. So I've still gotta work out what we're gonna do for lunch that day. But we offer all of our volunteers lunch. So we stick around till about 1:30, typically because Bill still has some of his salespeople coming through, same thing with John Burtis, his sales folks are still coming through. And I don't leave the Sheridan Fire Station till about 1:45, because I do the last round of making sure all the trash is done, we've swept everything, we've mopped everything, we've cleaned everything. So there is always time for people to show up, don't make them feel that if you're not there by 12 or 12:15, they're out of luck to get the crab cakes, okay? And so we're gonna, all volunteers, as many hands on deck, so make sure you got it on your calendar. I am going to be talking to a couple of you to help me run stations this year, because we need a couple more bosses at each of the stations to manage us better. Because we want to make sure our product and quality of the crab cakes we're making is as good as the first one we start with to the very end when we finish the day. And it's not a marathon. So we're going to have a few more bosses to help manage every station and have us take our time and put out the best quality product we can do. So, any questions on the crab cakes?
What's the date again?
Friday, June 26th. And for the normal setup crew, we ask you to get there around 8. You know who you are if you're in the setup. If you'd like to join the setup crew, you're welcome to show up at 8. That's us moving the tables and chairs around, changing it from a bingo hall to our crab cake making session. And then 9 is when we go in earnest, and when we start, the picker's there by 9, and then as more stations come online, as the pickers get going. So yeah, we really need everybody to show up no later than 9:30, so we've got everybody working at that point in every station that we have. There's 5 stations that we run in this process. We've got it down really well. Yes, I may be a little bit bossy that day.
No.
I don't apologize for that. Any other announcements? With that said, I'm gonna move on to happy dollars. Bill?
I'd like to do a happy dollars, 10 happy dollars.
10.
5, because I'm happy that Betty is going to be coming home probably at the end of this week, so that's $5 for that. And then $5 for my unacknowledged buddy, who on Crab Cake Day is the first to arrive, the last to leave, and works himself to the bone. And that would be who? That would be Stanley.
Who?
$5 for Stanley.
$5 now.
And he is our unofficial storeroom as well. He stores all of our supplies at the end of every session and holds them for the next time, so.
Jim?
I want to put $10 in the name of Cheryl McDowell, who is actually running the whole, this will be her first week trying to run the reading program. It is also our final week of the semester or of the school year. And Chuck Huber is going to be reading.
Yay.
Oh, and Diane, that's right.
Diane,
That's right. And thank you both.
Is there not a day coming up that we're supposed to be over at the Kids Peak School for giving out awards to the
Yes.
children? What day is that again?
Paul, put your ears on.
I can't remember.
I think it's 26. I'll look it up
It's
again.
not, that's a Friday.
I'll look it up again and
Okay.
I'll just shout it out.
I'm here.
Continue with your happy
We'll
dollars.
keep going. Happy dollars?
I have 10 happy dollars because on Saturday I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. And I was on the top of the sand cliff and I was trying to get down and I fell down, all the way down the cliff. Down the cliff, and my angel was with me because I got to the bottom of the cliff and I had some cuts and bruises, but I didn't hurt anything else.
Any other happy dollars?
Range. I have 20 happy dollars
Whoa!
because Randy and Walter both rode up to the top of the Gateway Arch
Oh.
and didn't jump and got back down safe and sound.
Mark?
I'll give 20 happy dollars this week, because last week my mother was going to her hairdresser's and she got a flat tire. She made it there, but she called the tow truck, but she said to her hairdresser, Holly, I have to figure out a way to get home. And Holly said, well, my next client is from Tower Hill, maybe she'll come. So mother said she had a very nice lady named Cheryl McDowell, and she gave her $20.
She was darling.
Because Cheryl's such a nice lady. I could get my mother a ride home, I didn't have to drive back.
Any other happy dollars? You give me more?
No. June 11,
June 11th,
6 p.m.
at Kids Peak.
Yes, Paul and I will be there, and we hope to see many others.
Okay, we'll remind you again next
Jim
week.
Burke said he's coming.
Oh, well, then everyone come.
Yeah.
Do we, is it, where we sit in the audience, is that what we do?
Yeah.
Okay, is there like a room, or where do we go?
You'll
You
know.
never know, sometimes it's inside, sometimes it's outside.
Okay.
You
Just
follow
show up.
all the parents.
Look for Paul.
Any other happy dollars? Okay, well, we have a fabulous speaker tonight. Today? Oh, Queen of Hearts, I forgot about Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts, who's got the high card? Oh, I do.
All right. Oh, well, there might be two.
Are there two?
No? Is there a second to each equation?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
Nine of hearts. Okay. So with that said, Paul will do our accounting and we'll let you know what it was today. But we're going to turn to our program. So we have a fabulous Cape Charles resident who's come to speak with us about music and guitars in particular. So Steve House. Welcome.
Thank you. So, those of you who know me, right now I have two passions locally anyway. Golf, which I'm horrible at, as evident from the Legion tournament yesterday, and music, which I'm a hack at it. But I worked or I made acquaintances with people who tolerate my playing, and as a little commercial here, I play most Sundays at the brewery from 1 to 4. They have an open jam session. And the important thing is not that I play there, is that all the tips that we get are given to charity. Recently, they gave, I think it was $2,600 to Habitat for Humanity. Mark says, Mark Marshall, typically we're collecting about $10,000 to $11,000, and they're all local charities. So, come listen to some music, have a beer, and enjoy the weather. So, without going into my background, I grew up in New York City, in case it's still not obvious. And in the era of the Beatles, who I saw live at Shea Stadium, we had garage bands. And there was a garage band on every block. My problem with music is I can't play by ear. I have to have music. And back in the 60s, music publishing companies ripped us off, us wannabe musicians, because it was very expensive. So I kind of played a little bit here and there. And then in the late 90s, I was working for GE Capital, and the guy I'm working for, he had a Martin guitar. Martin, I'll talk more about Martin in a minute. So I said, yeah, I play, but I can't play by ear. He said, haven't you heard of the internet? And there's all kinds of music available on the internet. And in fact, there's a great app called Ultimate Dash Guitar. And everybody at the brewery has it because somebody says, let's play this song. Wait a minute, let me find it. Okay, I got it. And you put music, I can play anything if I have the music. So, I did acquire a disease, as one of my good friends said. It's called GAS, Guitar Acquisition Syndrome. And so my account is up to 15.
Whoa.
So anyway, so I'm going to talk a little bit about guitars, and I brought some show and tell. So there's two types of guitars, really basically two types of guitars, an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. And the acoustic guitar's origin is a long time ago, and I'll get to that in a second. But in the 40s, all the big band eras had a guitarist, and they played something that looked like this. And it was a hollow body, and that's important because that's what produces the sound. If you have a solid piece of wood, which I'll show you in a second, there's no sound. You need it to be amplified. Well, it's been a long time since I've done a presentation. Well, then in the 50s, there were actually three guys around. A guy named Leo Fender, a guy named Les Paul, and if you may not have heard Leo Fender, but Les Paul and Mary Ford were famous for playing. And there's somebody living in Cape Charles, in Bay Creek, who was a neighbor of Les Paul. And I forgot her name, but I did meet her and she was telling me some interesting stories about Les Paul. But they created the solid body electric guitar. And the first one, the one on top, was a Fender Telecaster. Solid body, need an amplifier. So Leo Fender and a lot of other people developed an electronic or magnetic pickup on the guitar so you could plug it into an amplifier. Les Paul created the one on the bottom. The Les Paul Custom. That guitar is freaking heavy. I can't imagine people standing on concert playing that guitar. It's probably like 10 pounds. I have it. It sits in my rack. Leo Fender didn't like the weight of it, so when he designed the Telecaster, although it's a solid piece of wood, he scooped out pieces in the back, made to make it more comfortable to sit on the body and make it less light. I have one of those too. So that's electric guitars. There was also another guy named Bigsby. And Bigsby developed what became known as the whammy bar. So when you see all the guitar players hit this bar, that's the whammy bar. So anyways, that's a little bit about electric guitars. Now I want to talk about acoustic guitars because this is really my passion. In early 1800s, there was a man named Christian Frederick Martin I. And he was a furniture maker in Germany. And they started making guitars. I think the guitar evolved from something that was called the lute, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Well, Christian Frederick Martin got all kinds of grief and persecution from the furniture maker guilds, from the instrument maker guild, because they said, you're a furniture maker, you cannot possibly make a guitar, a musical instrument. So he came to the United States and set up the C.F. Martin Company. This is a fascinating company. 1833 it was founded. It's in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and it's still owned by the same family. And that's pretty incredible. So, Martin guitars, they look kind of the same, don't they? And I'll show you a little bit different. The top one is called a dreadnought. It's a bigger body guitar, which the bigger the body, the more sound it produces, because it's all about the vibration of the air. The one on the bottom is called a hardware guitar. Smaller body. It's actually, as I got older, more comfortable to play. And Martin guitars were typically made with steel strings. Now, prior to that, we had guitars mostly from, I guess, Spain that looked like this. Okay? This guitar, some people call it a flamenco guitar, other people call it a classical guitar, because the classical guitarists of the, 1800s, 1700s, maybe 1600s, actually played this. This is nylon strings. It's very small and has a very distinct sound. Give me a second. And you can play anything on any guitar. What's different about this guitar versus the acoustic guitars with steel strings? The body is smaller. The neck is smaller. And again, it uses nylon strings. This is an interesting guitar because in 2001, I think, right before 9/11, we were in Madrid. And when my wife was alive, when we traveled, she'd always say, get something, Steve, get something. Want any trinkets, you know? So we're walking down the street in Madrid, and all of a sudden my two daughters disappear. And they come running out of the store and said, Dad, there's a luthier here. And a luthier is a guitar man. So I went in the store, and I said to the guy, because I can play a little bit of classical guitar. Had a course in college. So I went in to buy this guitar, and a guy really didn't speak that much English. I said, I want a guitar that you made. So he brought this out, and I played it. And then I gave it to him, and he played it, and I was very embarrassed about that. But what's neat about this in terms of construction, and this makes total sense, but I never thought about it until I started really getting more into guitar playing. The size of the body makes a big difference in the amount of sound, and the type of wood makes a big difference. This guitar has a spruce top and then cypress back and sides. And that's a very common wood for flamenco guitars. And what's also interesting, I'll walk around here a little bit. If you look, there's a line down the middle. That's because there's two pieces of wood on the back. And if you look closely, the grain is mirror image on the back. So that talks about workmanship in creating a guitar.
Are those pieces from the same piece of wood?
Yes, yes. And for our 25th anniversary, my wife actually gave me a kit from Martin Guitars to put together. So I learned a lot about making guitars. Enough to say I don't think I want to do that again. Another commercial, there's a guy in Cape Charles, I'm not exactly sure where he lives, Dan Jasper. He makes incredibly beautiful guitars. So as I said, two things create the sound of the guitar. One is the size of the body, because it's the air that creates the sound. And the second is the wood. And what I started getting into as I became guilty of this disease, is I also said, okay, well, I have a nylon string guitar, I have a 6-string guitar, I don't need anything else, right? Yeah. For my electric guitars, I needed the Telecaster, I needed the Stratocaster, which is what Jimi Hendrix played, and Eric Clapton, and then a couple other versions, and we won't go into that. But then I found this guitar online. And this is a Paula guitar. Notice the indentation here as opposed to the dreadnought. And this is koa wood, K-O-A, from Hawaii. And I just love the look of this wood. Notice it is a 2-piece back. It is steel string, so it's a very different sound from the nylon string guitar. And I said, well, do I need another guitar? But look how pretty it is. And look at all the trim work and the abalone inlays around the guitar. All the way up in the neck. And if you pull that. Anybody remember Creedence Clearwater Revival?
Yes.
So we'll just play a quick part of it. We'll stop the rain. Very nice sound of the guitar. Very pretty. Now, another interesting thing about wood, and my obsession for the appearance of guitars. Before moving full-time to Bay Creek, we lived in Richmond. And if you're not familiar with Richmond, there's a really neat little neighborhood called Carytown Shopping District. So there was a store called Guitar Works, which was bad news to me because anytime I needed strings, I kind of walked in there, and not every time, but often walked out with another guitar. My wife tolerated it. She actually said one time, "You buy another guitar, I get more jewelry." So it was an even trade. Anyway, again, talking about the wood, there was a guitar there that was dark, stained dark brown, big grain, and when it was stained, the grain was black. And it was a very nice trim package on that guitar. So I'll take that. Should have known it was made of ash wood. Ash wood is what they make baseball bats out of. It sounded horrible. So I sold that pretty quick. So, not too long ago, maybe about 3 years ago, I had a tax refund, which is like, wow, that's strange. So I went to,
Right in front of you.
there's a couple of guitar stores in Virginia Beach, Guitar Center, which is a nationwide chain, and there's one called Alpha Music. And so I went to Alpha Music, or I went online to see if they had it, because I wanted to buy a Martin D35, which is the model number. But that is the quintessential guitar that David Crosby, Judy Collins, they all played. So at the time I walked in, and I have a daughter who is very tolerant of, or very encouraging me to spend money. So I said, I was talking with her, I said, I want to get a D35. And so Alpha Music did not have it in stock. But there's a company in Australia called Cole Clark. They make maybe 10,000, 5,000 guitars a year. And I didn't bring that one, but they had a Cole Clark there. And it was made out of redwood and camphor wood, and I had never heard of camphor wood. Oh, what a nice sound, what a light guitar. And interesting enough, Mark Marshall just recently bought a Cole Clark guitar too. So. But anyway, the year after that, I went in there to get a guitar fixed. And I said, you know, I was here once before, and I went to buy a Martin D35, and you didn't have any. And the guy said, I got one now. This is a 37-year-old Martin D35. It's in like incredibly good condition. Now, what's different about this guitar versus anyone? Well, you can see it's a dreadnought size, so a lot of sound comes out of this. Again, David Crosby, Judy Collins, can't remember all who played Martin D35. What's different about this one? First, notice it's a three-piece back. And again, that changes a little bit of the resonance and vibration, as opposed to some guitars that only have one-piece back, or the two-piece back like I showed you. The other thing about this guitar, it is a spruce top, typically Sitka spruce. So the back and sides, except this middle piece, is Brazilian rosewood. And you can't make that guitars out of that anymore.
Why?
It's environmental endangered. Incredible sound.
Wow.
So So I said, all right, I guess I have to buy that one. Well, I was with a friend of mine, and he was looking at it, he said, oh my God, Steve, you got it. So. And so, some people ask me, or my daughter sent me a sign for Christmas that's in my guitar room, says, yes, I really do need all these guitars. But I do play them all. When I'm playing at the brewery, it kind of varies which one I want to take and play. When we play different places around town with my friends, again, it varies. But here's an interesting thing. About 2 years ago, I heard about the brewery open jam session. And I was kind of shy about going down there because, as I mentioned to Katie a little while ago, anybody here have a group, the Traveling Wilburys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we played a song. The guys I played with played a song. And we asked that question, and a lot of people didn't know who the Traveling Wilburys were. Well, if you don't know, it's a group of people that got together just for fun. And they actually released 3 CDs, I think. And 3 of the 5 are dead now. George Harrison, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne from ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, Roy Orbison, and Bob Dylan. So, as Wayne says, 5 great musicians, 5 great songwriters, 4 great singers. Every once in a while, they let Bob Dylan sing. Steve is our version of Bob Dylan. Because I really can't carry a tune. But anyway, so I was really kind of shy about going to the brewery. Because I could play, and give me music, I could play just about anything. But I wanted to be a little different. I wanted to stand out. So I made the mistake, and I'm saying it's a mistake because it's kind of forced me to do this every weekend, to bring a different type of guitar. Now notice all these guitars have 6 strings. Now there is also something called a bass guitar, which has 4 strings. Oh, hang on. Keep that one in a minute. So what helps make the sound? Martin Guitars, I believe they developed, that bracing pattern on the top of the guitar. And they call it the X pattern, and all acoustic guitar companies started copying that. Because that helped the resonance, the thickness of the braces, how they're sculptured, also helped the resonance of the guitar.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did have a 12-string guitar because anybody remember the Birds?
Yep.
Roger and Gwen, lead guitars with the Birds, one of my favorites. He played a 12-string guitar. And so I was out in California visiting my daughter and my grandchildren, and there's a famous guitar store in California, in Tarzana, California, called Norman's Rare Guitars. So I took a car and I drove up there, and it was incredible. He had guitars they were selling from Trini Lopez. And so I went in there really to get a t-shirt. And I'm walking around and I'm trying different guitars. And I picked up this 12-string by Taylor, which is the second company, the top 2 companies, Modern Guitar and Taylor Guitars, for acoustic guitars. So I sat on this nice comfortable couch and I'm playing the guitar. And the salesman came over, he said, that guitar sounds really good. He didn't say my playing sounded really good, he said the guitar sounds really good. So I said, yeah, but you know, it's kind of high. He said, let's go talk to Norman. So I went up to talk to Norman. And I said, is this the best price you can do the guitar? I came all the way from Virginia. So he said, okay, no sales tax, which in California is 10%. Free shipping, I'll take $400 off and I'll throw you the t-shirt. So what's different about a 12 string? It's got 12 strings. And you have to press each string. Let's talk about nice sound. And I, again, typically wind up playing the 12 string at the brewery. Not this one, because this doesn't have electric. And this is 30 years old, this guitar. Because when we have other guitarists in 6 strings, the 12 strings adds a little bit. Like, recognize that? So, anyway, 2-piece back. I believe this is mahogany, which is another common wood, and this is definitely a spruce top. This is cut out here, so you can play down my witch engine. So, anyway, now what else about the guitars? Interesting fact most people don't know. In a guitar, the distance from here to the 12th fret, which is 1 octave of notes if you know music theory, and the 12th fret and the bridge, it's the same. And if it's not, then you're going to have some tuning problems. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Chuck first.
I've been a guitar player for 64 years. I have 4 Taylor guitars. One of them is a 12 string. And then I also have three other 6 string guitars. One is a special made rosewood, limited edition. And I do have a nylon string guitar as well, and then another 6 string. Going back to my electric days, I have an ES guitar.
Gibson ES?
Yeah, Gibson ES with the stereo, which was a special made. That was 1954, I think I bought that. And then I have a Les Paul. So
Heavy, right?
what's that?
Heavy, right?
Yeah, you're right. And fortunately, I was in my younger years. But yes, it did wear heavy on your back a little bit.
Yeah.
But, so I have 6 guitars. I did have a Martin for a while as well. But now you make me very jealous with all the guitars you have. But, congratulations. That's a terrific collection.
So, you mentioned Gibson, Les Paul.
Yeah.
So not that guitar, that was my last one purchased until tomorrow. But I was across the bay planning on having dinner with a friend of mine, and I finished my errands early. So I called her, I said, are you available earlier? She said, no. I said, okay, so what am I going to do for 2 hours? So I went into Alpha Music, and I came out with a Rickenbacker 6-string. So I blame her for that. But interesting, last August, I got to see John Fogerty. He's now 81, and he was really cooking. But he comes out with his Rickenbacker, and I have to tell you this is hilarious. He said, let me tell you about my guitar. In 1969, my band was doing great. And I'm quoting this because I've heard the story now twice. He said, so I bought this Rickenbacker guitar. But I needed to make some modifications to it. Because I heard about these guys in England, Jimmy and Jeff and Eric, who were putting humbucker pickups from Gibson's on a Rickenbacker. So he looked around, and this is what he did. You don't know who those are? Go ask your grandpa. Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, and Eric Clapton. And so then he said, I played this guitar at Woodstock. And of course it rained a lot. So he went home and he wrote the song, Who'll Stop the Rain? But he then goes on to say, about 3 years later, my girlfriend left me, the band broke up, my dog bit me. And this kid came around and said, John, can I have one of your guitars? So he gave him the Rickenbacker. So he didn't have it anymore. And then his wife went searching for it. And after 44 years, she gave it to him for a Christmas present. So it was pretty cool. I did have a Rickenbacker 12-string, and I really couldn't play it, so I did sell it.
One additional thing on the 12 string, it is the Colwood model.
Yeah.
I tried a number of 12 strings, and that one with the Colwood, it's such a beautiful sound that comes out of it.
So one of my Martins that I didn't bring here, we were in Hawaii, and again, my wife said, what are you going to get, for a souvenir? So I said, well, maybe I'll get a ukulele made out of Colwood. So we went to this music store in Maui, and they wanted like $1,500. She said, we're not buying a ukulele. You don't know how to play that. There's a Martin made of Colwood there. We're going to buy that. So, but yeah.
Ukuleles are easy. My dog has fleas. Did
Yeah.
you know that? You know how to tune it.
Yeah, but I got big fingers. I don't use them. But anyway, anybody else? Yeah.
If it's none of my business, fine, but if I were to, decide I love guitars and I wanted to buy your collection, what would you consider a reasonable offer?
For the whole collection?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you right now, the most expensive guitar I have is the one from Australia, which was $4,200. So a lot of them aren't that much expensive, but I don't know. And a couple were only a couple $100. No, and
You would charge him $100,000.
probably. Because, interesting enough, some of the really good guitars, like the Taylor or some of the Martins, actually appreciate its value.
Yes, very much so.
So,
Steve,
yes,
difference between the steel strings and the
nylon?
nylon. Is the nylon a softer sound?
Yes, very soft. And also, the way the neck meets the body is very different. When I was building the Martin kit, the neck is a dovetail and it sits in a block. And the dovetail is cut oversized, so when you start assembling it, you shave the dovetail down until it fits. So I was doing that. And then while I was building it, my dad was still alive. He lived not too far from Nazareth, so anytime I went to visit him, I took my progress and I went into what they call a guitar maker's connection. So I'm shaving the dovetail down, I'm checking the fit, and then I look at the print. So I got my phone, I called the Martin Guitar Maker Collection. I said, I have a kid here. Can you sew me a new neck? He said, you shaved the dovetail off. At least I wasn't the only one to do.
You ever played Woodstock?
Keep my setup. Yes, I actually played at 2 venues that are very good. The first is Woodstock. I went up to the Woodstock Museum with my sister, in Bethel, New York. And we walked out on the field where the stage was, and I had a guitar, and I played Creedence songs. And then 2 years ago, I visited Randy and Walter in Colorado, and this is my last thing, so, and I met their son, who plays guitar. So we went to the Red Rocks amphitheater, and we went on stage, and we played Red Rocks.
Too much traffic in town.
So again, if everybody's interested in hearing Steve and his band and Marianne play, at the brewery, are they doing it over the summer?
Yeah, every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Inside or outside?
Depends on the weather.
They'll try and do it outside, but yeah, if it's not the best weather, they bring it inside. So Sundays, 1 to 4, they have live music at the brewery.
And you never know who shows up. I mean, sometimes there have been like 8 musicians.
Oh.
And then one time it was Mark and I. And he said, "You're on your own, I gotta go to the bathroom."
Well, this has been a real privilege. Thank you for bringing all of your instruments with you today and strumming a bit for us and letting us get a bit more educated. So I know we're running a tad behind, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and stand and say that the big three. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, and today in particular, will we have fun? Will we have fun? Have a great day, everybody.